When Love Was Never Mine. Previous episodes are available in playlist, a link is given in the video description. Episode 11. Marina was exacting her revenge on Olivia. She could never forget the time when Olivia pinned her down and hit her. She wasn't blind. She could see that Olivia wasn't feeling well. But she was taking this chance to attack Olivia because she couldn't fight back. She kicked Olivia as hard as she could while Olivia couldn't stand up. She wanted to vent her anger. "Stop kicking her, Marina." Chloe reached out and tried to stop Marina. Marina didn't usually care about what Chloe had to say. But she didn't mind at the moment. "Mom, didn't you say she loves to pretend? She deserves to be kicked." As she was speaking, she kicked Olivia a few more times. She even slapped Olivia in the face. "You stop pretending." Olivia wanted to argue, but she couldn't speak. She could only feel her consciousness fading slowly. She could feel something picking her up in her daze. She could feel someone talking. But she couldn't hear what was said. She murmured, "Home, I want to go home." A man's voice said next to her ear, "All right, I'll bring you home." She was then put on the person's back. Her head slumped weakly onto his shoulder, and he carried her away with steady steps. For some reason, Olivia suddenly recalled something that happened to her as a kid. She was pushed over by some bullies. The children were throwing pebbles and mud at her. "You're a motherless bastard. Your mother is shameless." I heard she ran away with another man. She retaliated in anger. She fought with the bullies. But she was beaten until she had no strength left. She was hurt all over. Jeff found her later. She held his hand and said while crying, "They called me a motherless bastard." Jeff smiled gently and patted her head lightly. "Silly girl, you have me. But I miss Mom. Although your mother is in another country, and you are very far apart, she misses you too." A glimmer of delight flashed on her face. But the glimmer quickly dimmed. Casual date is just a click away. Why did she leave me if she misses me? Jeff crouched down before her and said gently, "Olivia, everyone has a right to pursue their own happiness. Your mother finally found her happiness. Even if she isn't here, it doesn't mean she doesn't love you. What about you, Dad? Will you leave me one day like Mother did?" Olivia asked while she tugged at his sleeve. Her expression was filled with worry. She had already lost her mother. She didn't want to lose her father too. Jeff knew what she was thinking immediately. "No, I will never leave you." Olivia broke into a smile. Jeff crouched down and carried her on his back. "Don't worry, Liv. I will always be with you." She laid on her father's broad back with a faint smile. "Dad, if you ever find your own happiness, I'll also give you my blessing." "Silly girl, you're my happiness." Ethan saw a sweet smile appear on Olivia's lips while she was unconscious. It was the first time he saw such an innocent expression on her in a long time. Olivia held his hand tightly and yelled, "Don't go! Don't go!" Ethan said softly, "Okay, I won't go." The next instant, Olivia opened her eyes and jumped into his arms. She said with a nasal voice, "Dad." Ethan was rendered speechless. Olivia's eyes slowly came into focus. She saw a white shirt. She looked up and saw Ethan's strong jawline. The hope was gone from her eyes. She remembered that Jeff was still unconscious in the hospital. There was no way he could have been here. Why did your nose bleed? Olivia couldn't believe that was Ethan's first question. She could smell the scent of an unfamiliar shower gel on him. She recalled the fact that he slept in the same bed as Marina last night. She quickly moved away from his embrace. I hit my nose. My mother accidentally hit the wound when she slapped me, Olivia said calmly. Ethan stared at her face. He wanted to find hints of her lying. Olivia looked at him adamantly and said, What? You don't believe me? Weren't you the one that said I was in good health and that nothing could be wrong with me? That's true, Ethan agreed. It wasn't clear if he was trying to convince himself or Olivia. He didn't notice the fleeting smirk that crossed Olivia's lips. He did look at her latest medical examination report. There were no issues with her health. Olivia noticed that she wasn't in the Miller residence. It was the seaside apartment that she had lived in before. It would seem like her confrontation bore some fruit. Now that the Carltons were pressuring Ethan, he didn't dare to openly live with her again. Since you're fine, you can start work tomorrow. The HR department is done with the preparations. Okay, Olivia replied calmly. I'm fine now. You can head back now. Don't let the Carltons misunderstand. Her words angered Ethan. The anger on his face became more apparent. He said coldly, Is that what you want? Olivia replied quietly, Yes. I do not want to be the third wheel between you and someone else. I've done foolish things in the past. I don't want to be a fool anymore. Ethan shot her an icy glare and said, I hope you don't regret your decision today. Casual date is just a click away. He stood up and left resolutely. Olivia's voice came from behind him. I hope you don't take your anger out on other people, Ethan. I can promise you that I will be yours until the day I die. It won't change even if we're not together anymore. Her words brought some warmth to his eyes. He stopped in his tracks and said, Remember your words today. Olivia sighed in relief when the door closed. She looked at her phone. Colin had sent her some pictures of food. He tagged it with a sheepish emoji. Olivia tapped on the voice message button and said, I'm sorry, Colin. I had to leave. Something came up. Thank you for today. How much is the hospital bill? I'll transfer it to you. Colin replied almost instantly, You don't have to be a stranger to me. If you want to repay me, just take me out for lunch. The young man's voice was clear. The trailing tones carried a lively and uplifting emotion. Okay, I'll treat you to lunch someday. Thanks for taking care of Snowball. The conversation ended after he sent a few more emojis. Olivia took out the other phone hidden in her purse. She dialed Jack's number. Are there any new developments? Jack replied quickly, Not much since it's only been a short while. But I discovered something interesting. What is it? Dr. Galloway and Ryan graduated from the same school. They were even famed lovers back when they were in school. I knew it. They knew each other. Olivia remembered that the nurse said a tall man had visited her father. Ryan was a tall man. Maybe he was the one who caused Jeff to go into a coma. That's right. I also found out that the companies that Ryan had registered were all shell companies. There is no real meaning for their existence. Olivia understood now that Ryan appeared before her to introduce her to Lee. He wanted her to know the truth. He tried to use the truth to create a rift between Ethan and her. This means that if we find Ryan, we get closer to the person behind it all. That's true. I've also uncovered some leads about Belle. I'll be leaving Aldenvine tonight. You can try and meet up with Ryan when I come back. I'll help you capture him. Okay. Thanks, Jack. No need. Remember, wait for me to return. Don't alert the enemy. In the next morning, Kelvin was waiting for Olivia downstairs. Olivia had put on some light makeup to appear more lively. Brent was waiting in front of the car when they arrived at the company. He said politely, "Mrs. Miller." Olivia shook her head and said, "I told you. Don't address me as I'm sorry. I got used to it. I have something to tell you about your job. Mr. Miller has moved you to the sales department." Olivia frowned and said, "Didn't he agree to make me his secretary?" Brent looked at her awkwardly. He coughed softly and said, "Mr. Miller took into consideration that you want to improve yourself. There are more hands-on challenges in the sales department than if you were his secretary. Mr. Miller has your best interest at heart." Olivia understood. Ethan couldn't possibly keep her by his side as a secretary. He wouldn't be able to answer to the Carltons for that. She understood that this was the outcome of her action at the Carlton residence. But she realized that she wasn't used to him staying away from her now that it actually happened. It was fine either way. No matter which department she was in, those who wanted to harm her would still come sooner or later. "All right. Thanks for the help." "You're welcome. I've already notified the HR department. You just need to head up and go through the procedures." Brent only accompanied Olivia to the elevator. He had to avoid being seen with her to not raise any suspicions. Olivia wanted to join the company to investigate suspicious individuals around Ethan. She didn't expect to be moved to the sales department before she could begin her investigation. She held her head and sighed. She would have to make do with what she had. She went to report to the HR department. The person who processed her sized her up several times. Olivia knew what she was thinking immediately. "All right. Your desk is over there, Olivia. You can go and get settled down." The HR employee was still pretty courteous. "Thanks." Olivia looked at her employee ID, and her thoughts wandered. Casual date is just a click away. Her first job in life was not as a doctor but as a salesperson. She could hear people chattering when she walked in. She must be someone special. Mr. Ingram handed her file to HR personally. "But I'm curious. She's a top medical student. Why would she become a salesperson? She could probably get a job in any of the best hospitals in the country. Who knows? Maybe she likes a challenge? The bonuses of some of our sales department colleagues are several times higher than the salary of a doctor." Because of Brent's influence, Olivia might not have an office to herself. But she had a desk in the best location. The sunlight came in through the window and shone on her desk. There was also a tiny potted plant on it. Olivia stretched her body leisurely in the sunlight. There were 3 teams in the sales department. She was in Team C. Sophia Linden, the leader of the team, introduced Olivia to the team. Everyone was very busy. So, the introductions were brief. They quickly went back to work after. Olivia was still feeling lost after a while. She went to ask Sophia for advice. Ms. Linden, I'm new, so I'm not too familiar with the job. What should I be doing? Oh, right, Olivia. I forgot to tell you that the sales department is also called the Hell department. We have a very strict evaluation system. An evaluation is conducted every 3 months. The worst of the team gets demoted to Team C. If the same team gets rank C more than twice in a row, a team member will be let go. Then someone new will join. Olivia heard about how intense the workplace could be. Does that mean if we're still Team C by the end of this month, someone will be let go? Sophia patted her on the shoulder and said, "That's right. And you're new here, so the person getting fired," Olivia understood, "is probably going to be me, right? Do your best. This is the project we're trying to get done right now." Sophia gave her a bunch of documents and quickly went back to her desk. Meanwhile, at the CEO's office, Ethan was rubbing his temples. He asked with his eyes closed, "How is she doing?" "She's already started working." Brent paused for a moment and asked, "Mrs. Miller doesn't need to work for money. Is there a need to send her to the Hell department?" He found it harder and harder to understand what Ethan was thinking. Ethan opened his eyes and played with the pen before him. He said in a lazy tone, "She'll only know who to seek help from after she experiences some hardships." It was thanks to the Carltons that Olivia was finally free from Ethan's control. Although they were still in the same company, a lowly salesperson like her couldn't possibly meet the CEO. The only inconvenience was that she got removed from the secretary's office. She was distanced from the secretaries. And that strayed her from the goal she came here for. Olivia could only put her hopes on Jack. She hoped that he could dig up something useful on his trip. As she was lost in her thoughts, someone said with a sigh, "Why do I have to be the one to hand in the strategy chart again?" Olivia turned and met the eyes of Norma Talbot, the person whose desk was next to hers. She was an earnest person. "What's wrong, Miss Talbot?" Norma pushed her hair behind her ear and said sheepishly, "It's time to hand in this project's strategy chart. As you know, we're already the C team. We were ranked last in the previous month. I don't dare to walk into the secretary's office. I'll be scared to death if I meet Mr. Ingram." "Is Mr. Ingram very intimidating?" "You're new, so you don't know. If Mr. Miller is the king of hell, Mr. Ingram is the guardian of hell. He was so stern that he scared the cleaner's daughter to tears last time." Olivia nodded thoughtfully and said, "If that's the case, I'll go for you. I'm new here anyway. I don't mind being scolded." "You're too kind, Olivia. Thank you so much." Norma quickly handed the file to Olivia. Olivia looked at the file in her hand. She smiled. This was her chance to get closer to the secretaries. Unbeknownst to her, the colleagues who were all smiling a moment ago changed their expressions. "I envy how naive young people are these days. Another one who doesn't know her place. How many have there been this year?" Norma crossed her arms and said disdainfully, "That's the only way to get closer to Mr. Miller. She probably hopes to catch his attention by being around there. Why else would anyone go to the secretary's office and risk being scolded? Tisk, if I recall correctly, the last one had her arm broken by Mr. Ingram and thrown out, right? Let's make a bet. How many days will she last before she quits? I'll take that action. Loser buys everyone lunch." Olivia went to the top floor. She glanced at the door at the end of the corridor. It was shut tightly. She subconsciously sighed in relief and went into the secretary's office. The secretaries who were busy with work looked at her when she entered. Nancy winked at her and said, "I heard you transferred to the sales department, Ms. Fordham. Was it because you didn't like us?" Olivia smiled and said, "Of course not. I thought I wasn't capable enough for this position. I didn't want to cause trouble for Mr. Miller. So I transferred to the sales department to work on myself. What a pity. You were a sight for sore eyes. You were gone too soon." Nancy was no slouch. She knew that Olivia was special. Olivia was the only person who ever brought food for Ethan. One moment, she was a secretary. Next, she was a salesperson. It must have been someone's orders. How else could she just change jobs so easily? That was why she didn't mind getting closer to Olivia. "Olivia, surely you're not here to chat. How can we help?" "Ms. Giles, this is our team's strategy chart. Can you please hand it to Mr. Miller for me?" Nancy thought about it for a while and quickly understood. "Leave it to me. Be careful in the sales department. The people there are all very cunning." "Thanks, Ms. Giles." Olivia took out the presents that she had prepared. For the men, she had tie clips. For the women, she prepared brooches. "I thought I would be here, so I had prepared presents. Please take one, Ms. Giles. I love thoughtful people like you." Nancy toyed with the brooch and said, "Thanks." Olivia proceeded to hand the presents to the others. They knew she was somehow related to Ethan, so they didn't dare to refuse. Olivia stopped before Grace. She noticed that Grace had been working the whole time she was there. She didn't even spare a look at her. Grace didn't react even when Olivia placed the present on her table. "Ms. Engel, this is for you." Grace raised her head and adjusted her glasses. She said sternly, "Did you join the company to do pointless things like this?" "Olivia, don't mind her. That's just how she is. You don't have to give her a present if she doesn't want it." Nancy winked at Olivia and said, "Don't worry, I'll hand over the strategy chart to Mr. Ingram personally." "Okay, thanks. I'll not disturb you guys anymore." Olivia stole a glance at Grace. Grace had gotten back to work. It was as if she only cared about working. Grace and Nancy were polar opposites. Olivia wondered which one of them was the suspicious one. Olivia believed that the spy could not hide forever. The truth would definitely come out. Even if she didn't make a move, the spy might not be able to remain in the dark. She had embedded tracking devices into the brooches. So she was one step ahead of the spy this time. Olivia was deep in thought. She didn't think that there would be anyone walking around on the top floor. She walked right into another person. A familiar voice came above her head. You're an adult, right? Why aren't you watching where you're going? Olivia quickly moved away from him. She thought Ethan was in his office. She didn't expect him to sneak out. I'm sorry, Mr. Miller. I'll be going now. She almost didn't even look in Ethan's direction. She lowered her head, apologized, and scuttled away. She was afraid that Ethan might ask her to stay. Olivia quickly got to the elevator. As the doors opened, Brent and Kelvin came out of the elevator. Olivia suddenly thought about how Norma described Brent as the guardian of hell. She instantly had the image of the two of them as hellish soldiers. She thought the look suited them. She covered a smile as she entered the elevator. Ethan saw that smile. He hadn't contacted Olivia for the past 2 days. And she stayed away, too. It was as if she was trying to sever ties completely. He noticed her coming up from the security cameras and was waiting in the corridor for an unexpected encounter. It angered him to see her smile when she saw Brent and Kelvin. She ran away like she saw a ghost when she ran into him. Ethan said with a dark expression, "Find out why she was up here." "Yes, Mr. Miller." Brent had the answer very quickly. He handed Ethan the strategy chart. Ethan took a glance at it and dropped it. "What kind of trash is this? Get me the person in charge." The file fell onto the table with a loud bang. The sound caused the cleaner who was wiping the shelves to jump in surprise. Everyone stopped talking after Olivia went back to Team C. Norma smiled brightly and said, "Thank you so much, Olivia." "No problem, it wasn't that hard." After a while, Sophia came storming out. "Who handed in the strategy chart?" Before Olivia could speak, Norma realized something was wrong and immediately shifted the blame. She said, "It was Olivia." She insisted on going to the secretary's office to show her face. "What's wrong? Ms. Linden?" Sophia glared at Olivia and said, "What did you say to Mr. Miller? Why is he so angry? Now he wants to question me." The matter blew up. Normally, Ethan would be communicating with the sales director if he had a problem. He wouldn't usually call for a team leader. Norma's bubbly demeanor quickly turned sour. "Olivia, I've said it before. You have limited experience. Since you joined Team C, you should focus on learning. Instead, your mind seems to be filled with all sorts of nonsense. Did you make Mr. Miller angry? Did you think you could do whatever you wanted because you had the looks? Who do you think Mr. Miller is? Do you know what happened to the last employee that tried to seduce him?" Olivia felt that she had been unlucky lately. Nothing was going her way. She went to the secretary's office once. The colleague who was all cordial before was already reprimanding her. The words that came out of her mouth were so unpleasant. Olivia said calmly, "I didn't get to meet Mr. Miller. I just submitted the strategy chart to the secretary's office. I don't know how I could have angered Mr. Miller. Nothing like this ever happened when we handed in the strategy charts. Why did something happen as soon as you did it? Stop pretending. You're the one to blame for this." "That's right, you should bring her along, Ms. Linden." Smiling face with heart-shaped eyes. Casual date is just a click away. The others began chipping in. They wanted to pin everything on Olivia. Olivia finally understood what it meant to be in the rat race. Olivia followed beside Sophia. Sophia said with a gloomy expression, "Olivia, you are on a 3-month probation. You know what you need to do for me to pass you." Olivia knew. Sophia wanted her to take the fall. Did she think Ethan was stupid? Olivia said with a cold smile, "Understood, Ms. Linden." The elevator doors opened. Sophia immediately bowed when she saw Brent. "Nice to see you, Mr. Ingram." She noticed that Olivia only nodded her head. She patted Olivia's back to signal her to bow as well. Brent quickly said, "Stop wasting your time. Mr. Miller is waiting for you." A hint of nervousness crossed Sophia's face. "Mr. Ingram, can you please let us know what's going on?" "About Mr. Miller, you'll find out when you go in." Brent kept up his cold demeanor. He stood at the door and said, "We're here." Sophia felt weak in the knees. This was her first time at the CEO's office. Brent opened the door, and he said, "Mr. Miller, they're here." He then turned and left. Sophia's legs were trembling. She began to walk stiffly. Olivia almost burst out laughing. All traces of the arrogance that Sophia had moments ago vanished. "Mr. Miller, you asked for me." Sophia was so nervous she could barely even manage to utter a complete sentence. Olivia's eyes fell on the cleaner in the corner, who was cleaning the bookshelves. Cleaners usually have fixed working hours in the morning or at night. They don't usually work while the boss is in the office. She wondered why Ethan would allow someone to clean the office while he was still there. He was a man who was very concerned with his privacy, after all. She observed the cleaner. The cleaner had a hunched back and a bony physique. The exposed skin was tanned. The cleaner's head was lowered so Olivia couldn't see the face. An ashtray landed beside Olivia's feet with a loud sound. It shocked her. Sophia was so frightened that her knees gave way, and she dropped to the floor. Ethan looked at Olivia and asked, "What's so interesting that you had to stare?" Olivia snapped back to reality. Ethan threw the strategy chart before Sophia. "Is this the strategy your team came up with? A monkey can do better than that." Ethan didn't pull any punches when it came to insults. This was the first time Olivia had seen Ethan at work. She realized that she wasn't the only person that he treated badly. Sophia was scared out of her mind. She anxiously said, "Please don't be angry, Mr. Miller. This proposal is..." "Olivia, you say it." She looked back at Olivia and saw that she had no fear in her eyes. Even her back was straight. Olivia's eyes were also calmly meeting with Ethan's. She thought Olivia was very brave. She quickly dispelled her drifting thoughts and snapped back into reality. Olivia saw her pleading gaze tinged with threats. She said, "Which part of my proposal are you not satisfied with, Mr. Miller?" Ethan narrowed his eyes and said, "You made this." Ethan knew she had only been working for 2 days. Normally, the team leader wouldn't even let a new employee take part in such an important job. This proposal was linked to the quarterly evaluation and year-end bonus. It was apparent that the team leader wanted Olivia to take the fall. Olivia was not stupid. She said, "Yes, I took part in it." Sophia was not satisfied with Olivia's words. If she only took part in the planning of the proposal, she wouldn't be able to take full responsibility for it. Which did you take part in? Ethan asked. In Sophia's expectant gaze, Olivia pointed at the proposal and said earnestly, I printed the whole thing out with my own hands. Sophia was at a loss for words. Ethan held back his smile. He was the only one who knew her obedience was just a farce. He knew she was a fighter at heart. He had lost count of how many times his head was hit by the things she had thrown at him. Sophia hissed through gritted teeth, Olivia, why are you joking in front of Mr. Miller? Why are you talking about printing? Aren't you the one who suggested this proposal? Please understand, Mr. Miller. She's still learning the ropes. Olivia thought about the team meeting yesterday. She was new and had unknown origins. Sophia feared that she might be a spy from another team. She didn't even allow Olivia to sit in the meeting. Olivia didn't mind. She wasn't here to work anyway. But she was displeased that Sophia tried to pin all the blame on her. She was angry that anyone thought they could just bully her. Olivia didn't even need to speak. Ethan tapped the table with the fingers of his right hand. His gaze fell on Sophia nonchalantly. Are you telling me that your team's proposal was made by a new employee who just started? That's right, Mr. Miller. Sophia had stood up. Her back was slightly bowed. She had a subservient expression on her face. If that's the case, she should be the team leader instead. Sophia's expression changed immediately. Mr. Miller, that isn't a great idea. She is a new employee. She has no achievements on her record. She was formerly a medical student and has no experience in sales. Ethan slammed his palm on the table and stood up. So you do know she's just a new employee. Yet you tell me that a proposal for a project worth millions was made by her. Are you mocking my company? Are you telling me that none of the veterans are better than her? What nonsense are you sprouting? Sophia was shaking in fright. She kept stuttering, Mr. Miller, do it again. If I see such trash from you again, take the entire team and get out of my company. Yes, Mr. Miller. Sophia quickly picked up the proposal. Olivia left the office with Sophia without looking back. She wondered why Ethan pulled such a stunt. Once they were back at the Team C office, Sophia said with a cloudy expression, Come with me to my office now, Olivia. Okay. Sophia shut the office door with a loud slam. As soon as Sophia entered the office, she threw the proposal at Olivia. Go and submit your resignation to the HR department now. There's no place for a person like you in my team. Olivia gave her an icy smile and said, How bossy of you, Ms. Linden. I did not make any mistakes. On what grounds are you firing me? Sophia vented all the frustration she suffered from Ethan on Olivia. Her face was twisted in anger. She no longer wanted to keep up the facade. On what grounds? The fact that we don't need an idiot like you in the workplace. I'm an idiot because I don't want to take the fall? Even if I did, would Mr. Miller believe it? Or do you think he's as dumb as you are? Sophia slammed her hand on the table and yelled, Olivia Fordham. That's me. But if there's nothing else, I'll be excusing myself, Ms. Linden. Also, I am a contracted employee. If you want to fire me, you should acquire the company first." Olivia left the office without looking back. She even went to the pantry, got a glass of warm water, and swallowed some stomach medicine. She didn't care about the gaze of others, nor did she care about their biting remarks. Everyone understood for a fact that the failure of the proposal had nothing to do with her. But her non-compliance had angered Sophia. Even if she stayed, Sophia would make her life hell. Still, these cunning veterans would never risk offending the team leader for a new employee like Olivia. They began to isolate her. They wanted to force her to quit. Even if she didn't quit today, she would still be fired when the results of the quarterly evaluation were out. No one felt the need to befriend a person that was soon to be gone. Naturally, they treated her with disdain. "I didn't think you had that in you, Olivia. You acted so prim and proper. I thought you were docile. But you dared to stand up to Ms. Linden. She was assigned to our department out of nowhere. She must have someone backing her. Naturally, she's bolder with her words." Olivia turned slowly to look at Norma. "Miss Talbot, since you know I have a backer, why are you still barking so loudly? Aren't you afraid that my backer will hear you?" Her words caused the entire office to fall silent. What did she say? Was she here to restructure the workplace? Norma was in shock. She didn't expect it to play out like that. Who would flat out admit that they had a backer? She recovered from her daze, and her face flushed in anger. "What did you say?" "I said your barking is too loud. It hurts my ears. Don't do it next time." Olivia patted Norma on the shoulder and went back to her desk. She took a look at the time and said, "It's getting late. I'll be going home now. Everyone, work hard and come up with more proposals." "Good job." Olivia knew they didn't want her to help in the planning anyway. So she didn't bother to trouble herself. Her colleagues were all shocked. They had wanted to isolate her. But it seemed like she didn't care. She even looked happy. Sophia kicked on a trash can. She called out to Olivia through gritted teeth, "Olivia Fordham, did I say you could leave?" Olivia lowered her head to look at her watch and said, "It's time to go home." "Why is everyone still working then?" "They're doing overtime." "And why aren't you doing the same?" Olivia shrugged and said, "Because I don't want to." She patted Sophia on her shoulder and said, "Try your best, Ms. Linden. So that you can deliver a proposal that Mr. Miller is satisfied with by tomorrow." Sophia's face grew red with anger. Her breathing became labored from the intense emotions. She had to pat herself on the chest to calm herself. "Are you okay, Ms. Linden?" "I'm fine." Sophia slammed the door and said, "Go to the conference room." Olivia hummed happily when she recalled Sophia's constipated expression. Even the heavy rain didn't dampen her mood. She had already asked Everly to pick her up. Everly should be here any moment. Olivia raised her head and met Ethan's eyes. He was sitting in his black luxury car. It was apparent that he was waiting for her. Olivia nodded her head toward him as a greeting. Kelvin turned to look at Ethan and said, "Mrs. Miller doesn't seem to be getting on, Mr. Miller." In the back seat, Ethan's expression was hard to discern. "Let's go." Olivia sighed in relief when she saw the car driving away. She saw Everly's car in the distance, so she went to the side of the road to wait for her. In a turn of events, Ethan's car turned around and accelerated right next to her. Olivia was splashed with water from a roadside puddle, and the black car sped away into the distance. Everly's car stopped next to her. She tilted her head, looked at Olivia, and said, "Hey, did you go for a shower?" Olivia cursed at Ethan as she sat in the front passenger seat. Everly was laughing at her misfortune. "I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it myself. Ethan was so childish. He splashed you with muddy water because you didn't get in his car. That's so evil." Olivia wiped herself with a towel. She looked upset. "That's how petty he is. I don't know if I was possessed when I fell for him." "You could have been." Everly agreed and nodded her head. She sized up Olivia before asking, "Long time no see. Have you been well?" Olivia didn't tell her about the incident where she vomited blood. "Yeah, the chemotherapy was pretty effective." Everly noticed that Olivia was in a better mood than before. Even her facial expressions looked more lively. Everly quickly said, "Why don't you consider doing it again? If it goes well, and you get to the condition where you can have surgery, you could go straight for surgery." Actually, Olivia propped her face up with her hand and looked at the scenery outside the window. "I'll go for another checkup after a while." Everly's eyes lit up. She said, "Have you changed your mind, Liv?" "I want to live a bit longer. At least until I find out who the person is." "What person?" Olivia shook her head and said, "It's nothing." Olivia had made up her mind. Even if she went to hell, she had to bring the person who made her life miserable down with her. Ethan saw Olivia get soaked from the rear-view mirror. His anger dissipated slightly from the sight. He knew that Olivia was trying to sever her ties with him that way. A few months ago, all he wanted was to be rid of Olivia. But now that she stopped clinging to him, he became the one who couldn't let go. Ethan felt irritated whenever he thought about her distant eyes. He pulled on his collar and said, "Let's return to the Carlton residence." Marina was delighted to see him. She prepared a feast for him. Chloe was recently discharged from the hospital. She still hasn't completely recovered yet and looked a little pale. But she still tried to be a good host and kept giving Ethan more food. On the other hand, Ethan was polite and distant. He focused on playing with Connor. But no matter how much he played with Connor, Connor rarely smiled. Most of the time, he gazed outside the window. Smiling face with heart-shaped eyes. Casual date is just a click away. He was only a little happier when Ethan was with him. After dinner, Ethan brought Connor to the living room and played there. Marina pushed Irina and said, "Go, play with Dad." Irina had been afraid of Ethan since she was born. Normally, she wouldn't even dare to approach him, much less play with him. "Come over here," Ethan said while waving his hand at her. Irina walked to his side shakily. He reached out and picked Irina up gently. He comforted her in a soft voice, "Don't be afraid." Ethan thought that Irina looked a lot like Marina. But her eyes resembled her father's. He picked up a book and said, "Come, I'll tell the two of you a story." Marina saw the three of them together and swore to herself that she must marry Ethan as soon as possible. After the children went to sleep, Ethan and Marina entered their room simultaneously. Ethan locked the door and took out a blanket from the wardrobe expressionlessly. Same as last night, you take the bed, I'll sleep on the couch. Marina said with a sad face, Ethan, we're getting married soon. We're already a family. Ethan glanced at her coldly. His gaze was so cold it looked like he was ready to kill someone. Marina Carlton, how long has he been gone? You're already getting so restless. Ethan grabbed her collar and said slowly, don't forget who you are, cousin-in-law. Next morning, Olivia appeared at the office full of energy. It was a stark contrast compared to her colleagues with their bloodshot eyes and tired faces. It was like a human walking into a group of zombies. It was like she didn't remember the insults yesterday. Olivia greeted Norma politely, good morning. Her bright smile annoyed Norma. Norma grabbed a cup of coffee and went back to her desk. She then muttered sarcastically, some people sure have it easy. Olivia didn't let it slide. She said innocently, I wanted to take part in the planning. But you guys thought I was new and was afraid I might leak the proposal. You didn't even let me in the meeting. Don't act like it's my fault now. Olivia's words triggered Norma's anger. She threw her documents on her table and said, Olivia Fordham, what the hell are you talking about? Olivia shrugged and said, nothing, just that you're a hypocrite. Olivia Fordham, you better watch your mouth. Who do you think you are, talking to me like that? Sophia interrupted their argument and said, stop yelling. I heard you from a distance away. Are you animals? Norma quickly ran to Sophia and played the victim. Ms. Linden, she was being arrogant and insulting her colleague. Enough, stop making a scene. Do you want the other teams to make fun of us? Sophia glared at Norma and said. Norma still wanted to argue. But Sophia had already calmed down. Olivia, stay back after work tonight. Come with me to negotiate a contract with Mr. Lincoln. She paused and added, this is work. She didn't even give Olivia a chance to refuse. Olivia could tell that Lincoln was a tough nut to crack from the amused expressions of the onlookers. In the afternoon, Olivia heard someone say in the bathroom, Mr. Lincoln is so perverted. Olivia is in for it tonight. Tisk, Ms. Linden is a smart one. She's getting a signed contract in exchange for Olivia. If Mr. Lincoln is happy and signs on, we'll be able to overtake Team B. If I were Olivia, I would be more humble. Why would she try to stand up for herself as a new employee? Everyone has been bullied like she has. She just had to be different, arguing with the team leader right from the start. Maybe she really has a backer. Impossible. Ms. Linden has already looked into it. Mr. Ingram doesn't have a girlfriend. He doesn't even have female friends. What backer could she possibly have? The two colleagues chattering faded into the distance. Olivia came out from the cubicle. She laughed to herself at the thought of Sophia using her as leverage for a contract. She was wiping her hands when she noticed a cleaner taking out the trash. She approached her and asked politely, Auntie, sorry to disturb you. May I ask if there is a vacancy in the cleaning crew? My mom is unemployed. I'd like for her to try applying for a job here. The cleaner said with a friendly expression, that's fine. I think we aren't hiring right now. But I'll keep an eye out for you. Thanks, Auntie. Olivia took out a new hand cream from her bag and said, "Auntie, if there ever is a vacancy, just let me know. This is a small token of appreciation. Thank you for your help." "It's nothing. I just have to ask around for a bit." The cleaner didn't refuse Olivia's gift. They talked for a little bit more, and then Olivia asked the question she had on her mind, "Auntie, is the cleaning crew responsible for cleaning Mr. Miller's office?" "Don't even think about it. His cleaner is handpicked by himself. That's not one of us." "What does that mean?" "I saw a cleaner wiping his bookshelves when I was handing him a proposal yesterday. I thought it was weird. Why was there a cleaner there when Mr. Miller was working?" "Young lady, you may not know this, but she has quite the background," Olivia asked because she thought it was strange. She didn't expect a real answer. "What background would a cleaner have?" "I heard that she saved Mr. Miller's life before." Olivia was fascinated, but why is she only a cleaner if she saved his life? She had no one. She's used to the job. That's why she kept doing it. But she only cleans Mr. Miller's office. There's not much to clean. The load is fairly light. Olivia nodded and said, "I see." She talked with the cleaner for a little bit more, then left. She made a mental note of the mysterious cleaner. Evening came. Olivia tagged along with Sophia to meet Lincoln. Sophia was touching up her makeup in the car. She threw occasional glances at Olivia. "Olivia, I see that you're still young. If you can secure this deal with Mr. Lincoln tonight, I'll forgive what you did yesterday." "Is he hard to negotiate with?" "For other people, yes. But for a pretty woman like you, it's a different matter." Sophia was finished with her makeup and leaned toward Olivia. Olivia could smell the heavy perfume she was wearing. The perfume made her feel a little suffocated. She furrowed her brows. "Olivia, it's easier for women to climb the ladder than men. We have inherent advantages that men don't have. Do you understand what I mean?" Sophia had a complicated look in her eyes. Olivia was not dumb. She knew what Sophia was talking about. "I understand. I think you're a smart woman, too. You won't disappoint me, right?" Olivia wanted to tell Sophia that she didn't care if she was disappointed. But she saw that they were arriving at their destination, so she held her tongue. She didn't want to cause another scene. "Yet. I'll be waiting for your good news, Olivia." Sophia looked at Olivia from head to toe again. The simple work attire worn by Olivia exuded a professional charm. Her well-proportioned figure was alluring even as a woman. Sophia couldn't help but be tempted by Olivia's legs in stockings. Sophia was sure that an old pervert like Lincoln would succumb to Olivia's charms. In the Golden Horizon Hotel, Olivia was carrying a file folder. She was deep in thought while following behind Sophia. Sophia thought that was because Olivia had never been to such a luxurious hotel. She whispered to Olivia, "Olivia, after you get Mr. Lincoln to sign the contract, I'll make you a permanent employee. As long as you stay with our company, you can stay at hotels like these whenever you want." Olivia didn't tell her that Ethan prepared a penthouse suite on the top floor of the hotel. It was a special suite designed according to her preferences and featured everything from an infinity pool to a rooftop garden. It was as luxurious as a suite could get. Now that she thought about it, Ethan really used to dote on her. As she was thinking of the good old days when she was with Ethan, she saw Marina holding Ethan's arm when she looked up. They were walking toward a private elevator from the restaurant. Her eyes met with Ethan's, but she quickly looked away. It was like they didn't know each other. Olivia accidentally dropped the file folder. She quickly crouched down to pick up the documents that were scattered on the floor. Sophia was annoyed. Olivia, you can't afford to be so careless when we meet Mr. Lincoln. I'll go touch up my makeup. Olivia quickly went to the washroom. She thought she had already let go of her feelings for Ethan. But whenever she saw him with another woman, her heart ached uncontrollably. That was the man who used to love her and her only. Her fingers clenched when she thought about Ethan bringing Marina to the place she used to love visiting. The thought of Marina using her bathtub, wearing her robe, and sleeping with her man. It was unbearable. It was only natural. There was no way she could have let go of the feelings she felt so strongly for years in just a couple of months. Sophia knocked on the washroom door and said, "Olivia, what's taking you so long? Let's not keep Mr. Lincoln waiting." Olivia collected her emotions and opened the door. Her expression was back to normal. "I'm ready." Sophia looked at her slightly pale face and said, "What kind of touching up did you do?" "Never mind, you can use my lipstick. This is the trendiest color this year that men like." The bright lipstick glided across her lips. It gave her a radiant glow. Olivia's complexion improved significantly. Sophia then sprayed some perfume on her. It was a rich and enchanting fragrance. Olivia frowned at the smell. But she was covered in it before she could decline. "Okay, let's head in. We can't keep Mr. Lincoln waiting." Sophia confirmed with Olivia yet again, "Are you sure you know the rules of the dinner table? I don't need to give you a refresher course, right?" "Yeah, I'm sure." "Okay, that's good." They arrived at the private dining room. It was unclear if Sophia had sent a picture of Olivia to Lincoln because he was unexpectedly early for once. And he was full of smiles, too. Unlike in the past, when he's always 30 minutes late intentionally. Casual date is just a click away. "Mr. Lincoln, I'm so sorry. We're late even though we're the ones that invited you. I'll have to drink a toast in apology. It's my pleasure to wait for beautiful ladies like yourself." "Sophia, this one looks unfamiliar. Why don't you introduce us?" Sophia smiled shyly and said, "Mr. Lincoln, this is Olivia. She's new. Say hello to Mr. Lincoln, Olivia." Lincoln was around 40 years old. He was the typical middle-aged man, greasy and pot-bellied. He squinted his eyes when he sized up Olivia. He was even more satisfied after a closer look. He thought the picture he was sent had been touched up. But she looked prettier in person. "Hi, Mr. Lincoln." Olivia greeted him expressionlessly. Lincoln immediately reached out to pull her closer to him. "Olivia, I'm an old acquaintance of your team leader. Come over and sit." Olivia didn't let him touch her. She chose a seat far away from him. She looked at Lincoln's awkward outstretched hand and Sophia's shocked expression. "Have a seat. Don't be shy." Sophia was speechless. She cursed at Olivia inwardly and held Lincoln's arm. She then said with a smile, "I apologize, Mr. Lincoln. She's new, so she doesn't know better." Lincoln's greedy gaze swept across Olivia's youthful face. He didn't seem angry. "She's still young. It's understandable. Please, have a seat, and let's bring out the food." Sophia had planned for Olivia to sit beside Lincoln. She didn't expect Olivia to pull a trick like that. She had no choice but to sit on the right side of Lincoln. A few of his trusted aides sat to his left. These aides are usually the ones that encourage the women to drink more alcohol. If they get the women drunk, the men could have their way with them. Lincoln was not in a rush. The night was still young. He engaged in idle conversation from time to time. Olivia glanced at his hand from the corner of her eye. She saw his hand almost touching Sophia's inner thigh. Sophia was clearly unhappy about it. But she didn't dare to oppose Lincoln, so she wore a forced smile. "Mr. Lincoln, have you given the contract some consideration? If you don't help me out soon, I will really get fired," Sophia said with a flirty tone. No one knew what Lincoln's hand did to Sophia under the table. She let out a soft cry. Lincoln said in a jolly voice, "Sophia, you need to have patience. I need to see how sincere you are if you want me to sign the contract." Sophia met Olivia's gaze and said, "Olivia, Mr. Lincoln wants to see how sincere we are." Olivia smiled and said, "Understood, Ms. Linden." Lincoln saw Olivia stand up abruptly. He looked at her beautiful face and her slender neck. No matter where he looked, she was stunning. He started to feel anticipation when he thought about how he could have this woman for himself tonight. He wondered what Olivia would do to please him. Would she feed him some wine? Or would she feed him some food? His imagination was going wild. Olivia took a piece of pork chop and placed it on Lincoln's plate. "Here, help yourself, Mr. Lincoln." Lincoln was stunned. But Olivia didn't stop. She piled more slices onto his plate. "Why are you looking at me like that? Look at the pork chop. Is this enough sincerity? There's still more if you want. You can have it all." Lincoln looked at the mountain of pork chops on his plate. Then he looked at the sincere expression on Olivia's face. He was stumped. He couldn't tell if she didn't know or if she was just pretending. Her eyes were clear. There was not a speck of preteens in them. He thought about her age and thought it was understandable to be unclear about the rules of the dinner table. Sophia was bewildered. So that was what Olivia meant when she said she understood? She thought the negotiations were done off. Lincoln would surely be severing ties with her. But the truth was that men were exceptionally patient and accommodating to pretty women. Sophia glanced at Lincoln warily. But she saw him smiling. He was not angry at all. He said, "It must be great to be young. Such youthfulness." Sophia rolled her eyes at Olivia. Olivia pretended not to see and went back to her seat. "As long as you're okay with it, Mr. Lincoln." "Of course, how could I hate that a pretty girl brought me food?" Smiling face with heart-shaped eyes. Casual date is just a click away. Sign up and start meeting women in your area today. Lincoln smiled and reached out to get some salad on the table. But Olivia grabbed it and put some on her plate instead. She acted like she didn't notice Lincoln reaching for it. Sophia was rendered speechless. She was regretting her decision to bring Olivia with her. Mr. Lincoln, please forgive her. She's still young. She was getting tired of apologizing on Olivia's behalf. Fortunately, Olivia was attractive enough. She was so attractive that Lincoln could tolerate her antics. It's fine. I find Olivia's innocence very interesting. Sophia took the chance to look at Olivia and said, Olivia, we were late. Let's make a toast and apologize to Mr. Lincoln for it. Olivia nodded and said, All right, Ms. Linden. Go ahead. Sophia sighed in relief when she heard Olivia agreeing so readily. At least Olivia wasn't being too outrageous. Olivia obediently stood up and filled up Sophia's glass for her. She then stood at the side with her hands beside her. Sophia coughed lightly and said, What about your glass? Fill it up, too. Me? Olivia looked at her with a surprised look. You called for the toast. I didn't. Sophia was so frustrated she felt like she was going to vomit blood. But she couldn't express her frustration due to the circumstances at hand. She glared at Olivia and said through gritted teeth, If you're not going to drink, then why are you even here? Olivia looked at her innocently and said, Didn't you bring me here to eat dinner? Sophia's fingers were clenching her glass so hard it looked like it was going to break. Olivia added, But if you like drinking so much, you can drink my portion too. Lincoln slammed his glass on the table with a bang. The smile on his face had faded. Ms. Linden, it seems your new recruit doesn't want to show me any respect. I think I won't be signing the contract. One of Lincoln's aides chipped in, What's wrong with this woman? She refuses to drink at the dinner table. If you're not sincere when asking for help, no one would lend you a hand. Please don't be mad, Mr. Lincoln. She has only been with us for a few days and doesn't know any better. I'll drink on her behalf. Sophia downed her glass of wine in one go. She wanted to pour another glass, but Lincoln threw his glass on the floor. There's no need. I do not like to force others to do things they don't want to do. He threw the contract at Sophia and said, I have another meeting, Ms. Linden. I'll be going now. As he said that, his eyes were shamelessly fixed on Olivia. His intent was clear. He could already imagine Olivia running toward him and wrapping her hands around his arms. Olivia did indeed stand up, but she placed her hands by her side. Like a waitress, she said, Have a safe trip, Mr. Lincoln. Don't forget to foot the bill. The confidence in Lincoln's face faded. He was stunned. He had never seen such an arrogant woman in his life. He was boiling with anger, but Olivia asking him to foot the bill made him laugh instead. Very well. Ms. Linden, I think you shouldn't bother me anymore. We'll never work together ever. Don't, please. Sophia was anxious. She had been negotiating with Lincoln for a very long time. She was about to succeed, but Olivia had ruined everything for her. It's all her fault. She doesn't know anything. Please be gracious and forgive us one more time. I've planned more interesting activities. It'll be a pity if you leave now. I'll have her apologize to you. Lincoln's eyes were fixated on Olivia. She was indeed a gorgeous woman. He gently stroked the back of Sophia's hand and asked, What interesting activities? Sophia grounded her teeth and took a keycard out of her pocket. She said, "Mr. Lincoln, I've already prepared a place where we can spend the night." She initially planned to get Olivia drunk and send her onto Lincoln's bed. But the situation had spiraled out of her control. She had no choice. Lincoln's eyes narrowed when he saw the keycard. "Since you're being so considerate, should we continue with the meal?" "Of course, let's eat." Sophia reassured him, "I'll have her apologize to you even if I have to get her drunk." Lincoln finally stopped in his tracks after Sophia's words. "All right. I'll be looking forward to what you have prepared for me." "Please wait for a moment, Mr. Lincoln. I'll have a word with Olivia." "Okay." Lincoln waved his hand and said, "Please don't disappoint me, Ms. Linden." Sophia dragged Olivia out of the room and pulled her aside to a place with no one around. She said, "Olivia, since we're here today, we have to land this deal with Mr. Lincoln. As long as you can make him happy, I'll not hold what happened against you." "Why should I make him happy? He's neither my dad nor my son." "Are all your deals secured by making men happy?" Olivia's retort put Sophia on the spot. She glared at Olivia with a look of disbelief and said, "Olivia, this is the workplace, not your school. I'm only guiding you because you have the looks. We're in sales. We need to be adaptable. If you don't want to land this deal, plenty of others would do it. I'll tell you the truth. Mr. Lincoln was willing to come here tonight because of you. You only have to sleep with him tonight to get him to sign the contract. With this, we'll be able to overtake Team B, and you won't be fired. It's a win-win situation." She said these words in a nonchalant tone. Olivia thought it was pathetic. "If I need to sleep with everyone to get results, I would rather get fired." "All right, you can be noble all you want. But if we can't win over Mr. Lincoln today, we'll both be in trouble by the end of this month. I might get scolded, but you'll be packing your bag." "That's fine, I don't mind." Olivia was not in the mood to argue with her. Sophia grabbed her hand and said with a frustrated expression, "Olivia Fordham, do you know you were born for this job? You don't even have to be good at negotiations. You can have everything you want. You're already here at Miller Group. Don't you want to climb the ladder?" "Not really." "What about money? Don't you want that? No, don't you want to achieve results and realize your own worth? Become a leader in the industry?" Olivia shrugged and said, "It's Ethan Miller's company. Why should I work so hard to make him money?" Sophia was astonished. It was the first time she had heard such outrageous statements. You dare call Mr. Miller by his given name? How dare you? Is he a god or a martyr? Why can't I say his name?" Not only did Olivia dare to say his name, she also dared to hit him. Not only that, she's also held the company's shares. Ethan gave her some of the shares before they were divorced. She didn't have to work a day in her life. The dividends from the shares were already a hefty sum. She didn't need to sleep with Lincoln for some measly commission. "You're still young. You don't know how harsh reality can be. You'll know how little control over life you have when you're at my age. If you're still angry about me picking on you before, I'll apologize. Sometimes, I have to do things I don't want to as the team leader." Olivia was amazed. Sophia was a salesperson through and through. Forceful tactics didn't work, so she tried a softer approach. Olivia, are you thinking of your boyfriend? Sleeping with clients is a common occurrence. Your boyfriend might be doing similar things for work, too. Men need to keep up a facade, but so do women. The perfect relationship doesn't exist. Every relationship has its woes these days. Don't be too love-centric as a woman. Money is the most important thing. Sophia sighed and said, Olivia, I've been through it all. I'm not trying to hurt you. We women need to acquire power by ourselves. Men are always unreliable. You're right about that, Ms. Linden. Olivia looked at Sophia with clear eyes. Under Sophia's expectant gaze, Olivia patted her shoulder and said, I'll cheer for you. I hope you can steer clear of bad relationships and climb the ladder on your own merit. Good luck tonight. Hope you don't have too hard a time handling Mr. Lincoln and his pot belly. Sophia lost her patience. She tried talking to Olivia for so long, but Olivia didn't listen to anything she said. Olivia Fordham, who do you think you are? How dare you belittle Mr. Lincoln? Mr. Miller has a toned body. But do you think he would even look at you? Olivia thought she, of all people, was qualified to speak about Ethan. She thought about Ethan and Marina entering the elevator together a while ago. They were probably having a good time in the room that used to be hers. She smirked and said, I won't even care if he came before me, stripped, and showed me his ABS. Why would I care if he'd look at me or not? Okay, you've got guts, Olivia. I'll make you come running back to me in tears. Sophia walked away after she said that. Olivia rolled her eyes and said, Crazy. Olivia suddenly heard the sound of a lighter coming from behind her. It was very loud in the deserted corridor. Someone had heard her conversation with Sophia. It was such an awkward moment. Olivia wanted to run without looking back. A familiar masculine voice rang beside her as she was preparing to walk away. Don't even think about it. She turned around stiffly when she heard the voice. She saw Ethan's familiar face. He was leaning on a white pillar and playing with his lighter. His icy gaze fell on her face. Olivia felt a chill just from that. This was even more awkward than if a stranger had overheard. Olivia raised her hand and said with a stiff expression, Hi, MMR Miller. What a coincidence. She wondered why he was here instead of being in bed with Marina. Ethan put away his lighter and approached Olivia. He stood before her and said, It's not a coincidence. I came here specifically for you. Olivia blinked and said, Weren't you with Marina? Ethan grabbed her hand and dragged her into the private elevator. Olivia's body was pressed against the side of the elevator. Ethan slowly leaned in. He said through gritted teeth, Olivia Fordham, are you never going to approach me if I don't seek you out? They were the only ones in the spacious elevator. The mirrors on the sides reflected Ethan's icy expression. Olivia was trapped in a corner of the elevator and was pressured by Ethan's overwhelming presence. She dared not move. Please show some restraint, Mr. Miller. You're already engaged to Ms. Carlton. Olivia never expected that one day, she would use the person she hated the most as an excuse. Ethan looked her in the eyes and said calmly, I told you you don't have to worry about her. The elevator arrived at the top floor just as she wanted to say something. Ethan grabbed her hand and pulled her out of the lift. She looked at the familiar decor. Her expression changed slightly. She said, "Why did you bring me here? Do you want me to watch you while you and Marina do it? Don't be ridiculous, Ethan." Ethan pressed her finger on the fingerprint reader. The door opened. Olivia was taken aback. She didn't expect him to keep her prints on the record. She also didn't see Marina in the suite. Ethan threw her onto the couch while she was still in a daze. The soft and wide down-filled couch was as comfortable as it used to be. But before Olivia could comment on how good her choice of couches was, Ethan's body began to press against her. Embarrassing memories began to surface in her mind. This suite contained a lot of memories of their bygone love, especially this couch. It was where a lot of happy memories were made. Ethan didn't turn on the lights. The room was mostly in the dark. Olivia could only see a silhouette of Ethan taking off his jacket. He then leaned in and said next to her ear, "I've never brought her here." Was he explaining himself? It was as if Ethan could read her thoughts. He explained once more, "I just brought her to meet a friend." "Mr. Miller, you don't have to explain yourself to me. I don't care." Ethan tightened his grip on her wrist after she said that. "Olivia, my patience grows thin," Ethan's displeased voice came from beside her ear. "I have given you enough time today." He had wanted her since a couple of months ago. But he let her go every time. Olivia was panicking. Ethan only had his shirt left. She could see his slender fingers unbuttoning it from the top, slowly but surely. The lights were turned on the next second. Ethan's exposed chest appeared before Olivia's eyes. She used to love his chest. She knew better than anyone how well-built Ethan was. She hadn't seen his bare chest for some time. The sight of it made her breathe harder. Ethan's fingers brushed across her flustered face. "You said that even if I showed up in front of you with my abs exposed, you wouldn't even give me a second glance." Olivia bit her lip hard in embarrassment. She knew it. He heard what she said. She turned her head and moved her gaze away from his body. But she couldn't help but look at him with the corner of her eye. "Don't you want to touch?" Ethan said in a seductive voice. She did love to touch his muscular body in the past. She would reach out and feel up his waist whenever he did it from behind. Her hands would then be grabbed by Ethan. She was more aware than anyone of the uneven yet supple texture of his skin. Ethan's physique wasn't honed in the gym. Compared to meticulously measured muscle contours, his body exuded a wildness that was even more irresistible. Olivia swallowed hard. She suppressed her wild thoughts and replied with a serious expression, "No, I don't want something that others have touched." As soon as she said that, Ethan looked at her with a prying look. His fingers traced lightly along her neck. "Jealous? You must be joking, Mr. Miller." "I am in no position to be jealous." Ethan saw the hint of disgust in her eyes. He bent over and kissed her neck. He even had the urge to bite down fiercely for a moment so that he could get rid of all of the complications between them in one bite. Olivia's resistance was apparent. Ethan raised her hands above her head. He held her chin with his fingers and said slowly, "Since you know your place, why are you resisting my touch?" Olivia frowned and said, Why are you acting all crazy here, Ethan? He smirked and let go of her chin. He began to unbutton her top. Olivia had a deal with him. She couldn't resist. She shouldn't resist. She could only mention the Carltons. Ethan, you made a promise at the Carlton residence. Why are you breaking your promise and touching me now? What's the matter with playing around with a mistress? Or do you think you actually matter now? The only constant in their exchanges was his belittling and insulting gaze. His gaze stripped Olivia of her dignity. She grabbed his sleeve and tightened her grip. Ethan's breath became labored. Olivia's clothes were almost all gone. The show was about to start. Wait! Stop for a moment! Olivia yelled urgently. She raised her head to meet Ethan's gaze. His eyes were bloodshot. He lowered his head and looked at her. Then, he whispered with gritted teeth, "What? I do not like the smell of the perfume I have on. I need to shower." Oliver came up with a lame excuse. He had smelled the perfume just now. It wasn't cheap, but it was unpleasant. It was the type of perfume that both of them disliked. It smelled like slutty women at nightclubs. He released his grip on her and said, "You have 5 minutes." Olivia scrambled into the bathroom and locked the door. She looked at her own frightened face in the mirror. Everything was so familiar. She picked out the towels herself. Their couple's toothbrushes were neatly placed together. Everything in the bathroom reminded her of how close they used to be. But now, she's trying to escape from his touch. She looked outside the window. She could see the faint lights in the distance. She felt like a lost and wandering spirit. Escape? Where could she escape to? Ethan stood on the balcony. He gazed at the same view that she saw. The cool night breeze blew at him. He was aware of Olivia's resistance. But there were things that he could not tell her yet. The issues were too complex and would involve too many people. "What are you thinking about?" Olivia walked to his side. He checked his watch. It was exactly 5 minutes. Ethan pulled her into his arms. He smelled the familiar scent of shampoo coming from her. "Look at us now. Don't we look like how we were?" Once, he stood alone on the balcony like tonight. That time, Olivia squeezed into his embrace. She would look at him bright-eyed and ask, "Why are you always spacing out in tall and quiet places like this? You look so lonely like that." "How sad." "Me? Sad?" He lowered his head. She fluttered her eyebrows and smiled brightly. "But in the future, I'll be with you, so you won't be alone anymore." The person in his arms and the face in his memories merged into one. Ethan said slowly, "You said you would be with me, so I won't be alone." Olivia's expression remained indifferent. "Yes, I said that. But weren't you the one who pushed me away?" Ethan traced her brows with the tip of his fingers. His dark pupils were like a deep abyss. They feel as if they would engulf her completely. "What if I say I want you back now?" Ethan asked. Olivia replied without hesitation, "It's too late now." She turned away from Ethan and pointed to the scenery beneath them. She said, "You were the one who shoved me in the past down from here. You shattered everything, including all my love and desire for you." Ethan's hands tightened around her waist. She was then pushed against the glass. He looked at her clean and pearly face. His voice was deep and icy, threatening even. I don't care where your heart lies. All I want is you in the flesh. Ethan was like an arrogant emperor who held the life and death of his subjects in the palm of his hand. And she was like an ant before him. He only had to put his foot down to destroy her. Even his voice was filled with arrogance. See, your willingness doesn't matter. Whatever I want to do will be done. Just as it always has been. His unhinged behavior triggered a strong sense of rebellion in Olivia's heart. Ethan, I am no longer the woman that lived for you alone. She pushed his body away and had a defiant expression on her face. Her expression displeased Ethan. What's this now? Weren't you the one who begged me not to divorce you? And now you won't even let me touch you. His anger grew the more Olivia struggled. His eyes were filled with rage. The increasing pressure from Ethan made Olivia upset. On her front, she was pressed against ice-cold glass. It formed a stark contrast with Ethan's body behind her. She unleashed her killer's shot. Ethan, the condition for having your way with me was to find Leo. But so much time has passed. Where is he? The words were like a downpour of cold water. It extinguished Ethan's flame. I'm still searching. The mention of Leo annoyed Ethan. It was apparent that Leo was hiding from him. It had been days. He still hadn't found a trace of Leo's whereabouts. Leo was just a persona for the person. It was going to be hard to find him when he didn't want to be found. Although Ethan had hired other experts from overseas, the best they could do was keep Jeff alive. No one dared to operate on him. Every one of them knew that the mortality rate was too high for Jeff's situation. None of them dared to risk their career for Jeff. Olivia saw his annoyed look. She gathered her courage and pushed him off of her. You have no right to touch me if you haven't found him yet. Ethan didn't expect Leo to be so hard to find, but he had already promised to find him. If he couldn't, it would be embarrassing for him. Olivia. He looked at her angrily while grinding his teeth. Olivia tied her bathrobe back up in front of him. Consider what you saw just now as interest for the payment for finding Leo. Ethan was rendered speechless. He could now empathize with Sophia, who had been driven to her wits' end by Olivia's antics. As she was about to leave, Ethan pulled her back into his arms and asked, Olivia, I don't understand why you're being so melodramatic. We've done it 1,000 times before. The pent-up anger overwhelmed Olivia as she glared at Ethan. It's not like I'm your only woman. Why does it have to be me? Marina is just right downstairs. Should I call her over? It's because you're the only one for me, he said aloud in his head. However, that answer was buried deep in his heart. He tightened his grasp around her waist, inhaling a deep breath. He said, Must you put up a fight with me over this kind of matter? Olivia barely suppressed the urge to tell him how much he disgusted her. She was aware that their relationship was as rigid as ever. Thus, she needed to keep her emotions under control. Confronting him recklessly wouldn't do her good. As an afterthought, she decided to compromise. She lowered her head. I just can't get used to it. Taking a step back, as she had expected, never failed to work wonders whenever facing Ethan. He watched her exposed nape. It was as if a kitty was revealing its weakness. It managed to appease his anger a little. Fine. I won't touch you for the time being. He was surprisingly receptive now. Olivia raised her head with bright eyes. Although he was still being mean to her, he didn't bear as much resentment as before. She could clearly feel that. Perhaps she could have seized the chance to gain useful information. As long as she could pull him over to her side, it would be a big help for her investigation. Ethan, can we talk? Olivia asked. Yeah. But I haven't eaten. Let's eat while we talk. He then asked someone to prepare a meal before going to the bathroom. Olivia initially intended to leave after having a short discussion with him. But clearly, Ethan wasn't planning on letting her go. Hearing the sound of water splashing, she sighed and opened the closet. The clothes she previously owned were in it as she had expected. Marina hadn't come here before. Olivia got changed and waited for him quietly. Soon, dinner was served in their room. There were steaks, wine, and fresh flowers. It was so romantic that she almost had a delusion that they hadn't divorced. It was as though they were celebrating their marriage anniversary. Ethan must have informed the waiters to serve only the food. They left as soon as they sent the food over. The candle was lit, and the scent of rose and wine lingered in the air. Ethan came out of the bathroom fresh and pulled out a chair to take a seat. He arched an eyebrow at her. What are you standing there for? Have a seat. Olivia looked at the dishes he ordered. Those were her favorites in the past. Even the steak was done to her liking. She gazed at him with the help of the dim light from the lit candle. His handsome features weren't tense. He was relaxed, which was unusual for him. How long has it been? Olivia asked. 2 years and a month, Ethan replied fast. She smiled bitterly. So, I am not the only person remembering the anniversary. Olivia, I'm not as cruel as you think I am. If you weren't cruel, we wouldn't have come this far. Is steak not enough to shut your mouth? He retorted, displeased. She ate a piece of it. It tasted the same as she could remember. The person next to her was the same man, but he felt like a stranger to her. Ethan raised his wine glass at her. Have some. I won't force you to drink tonight. It seemed like he hadn't forgotten about how much she threw up back then. She was hammered when she was begging him. Olivia gladly toasted her wine glass with his. She took a small sip of it, but he gulped down half of it. Dig in, he urged. She hummed in response. It had been a while since they last shared such a peaceful moment together. Ethan found Olivia cute as long as she wasn't holding an ashtray. Still, the smile didn't find its way to her face as it always did in the past. He believed that everything would find its place in the end. Leo would be found, and Jeff would regain his consciousness someday. Ethan would help with the Fordham family's comeback for her, and she would love him again. Olivia suddenly lifted her head. Ethan. Her gentle tone sent tingling thrills down his spine. He stared deeply at her. Ethan's gaze made Olivia's skin crawl. She coughed lightly. I saw a janitor in your office yesterday. He thought she was going to say something fluttering, but she mentioned an outsider. Olivia Fordham, are you suspecting that I'm having an affair with a janitor? Fury seeped into his voice. What are you thinking about? I'm just curious why someone is cleaning your office during office hours. It's an important place. He replied without much thought. Stephanie lives far from here, so she clocks off early. She cleans my office early at times when I'm working. What's the matter? You don't care about Marina, but now you care about a janitor. Since when did Miller Group provide such good employee welfare? Ethan was cutting his steak into pieces as he answered indifferently, Stephanie is different. She saved my life before. It won't hurt to provide her some perks. When? How come I didn't know about it? Olivia put her cutleries down. Are you worried about me? A smile adorned across his lips. He continued, it happened a few years ago. Someone had a death wish and ambushed me at the underground parking lot. He wanted to run into me with a car, but Stephanie saved me by pushing me out of the way. She frowned. You're quick enough to dodge that, though. I was distracted at that time. Why? Ethan stared at her face. It was your birthday. I ordered a cake for you. Olivia comprehended the situation immediately. At that time, he was doting on her in every way possible. Prior to her birthday, she kept whining about wanting a custom-made cake from Northern Bake Shop. Its cakes had special designs made with expensive ingredients, hence its expensive price. They were literally works of art. It was supposed to be crystal crossing neck swan's cake, but one of the swan's heads flopped on the cake when he brought it to her. She didn't make a ruckus over it. She simply felt like it was an omen. Ethan kept apologizing for it. A few days later, she received a swan castle cake. It took Northern Bake Shop a week to make it. At that time, she was touched by the two crystal swans, which crossed their necks on the pond. Yet, it turned out that he almost lost his life that day. He must be worried that she would be disappointed about the ruined cake. That's why there was a chance for the bad guy to hurt him. Olivia was touched. Even her voice sounded unnatural when she asked, "Why didn't you tell me? It's fine 'cause I survived it." She slammed her hands on the table and rose from her seat. "If you don't plan on telling me, are you planning to tell me in my dreams after you're dead? How many times has it been?" He stopped cutting his steak, as he didn't foresee such a huge reaction from her. "It's not that frequent. It happens about 10 times a year." It was no wonder that Ethan would get hurt sometimes. He pulled her to her seat. "It's in the past. I rooted the enemies out." Speculation flashed across her mind. It seemed like he didn't want her to get involved in the fray, so he hid her identity back then. Her identity could serve as a protection for her. However, she shrugged that off as soon as she thought of Marina. Ethan explained, "Stephanie happened to be there after clocking off work, so she managed to save me. But she hurt her leg instead. She hasn't recovered from it yet. I initially wanted to repay the favor by buying her a house as her retirement gift because she didn't have a family. But she's willing to continue her job as a janitor, so I let her stay." "I see. Ethan, there's actually something I want to tell you." "Tell me. Have you never thought that my father might not be the murderer behind your sister's death?" As soon as she finished, the harmonious mood was swept away. He threw his cutleries on his plate and smirked. "Olivia Fordham, is this why you were trying to please me? Because you want to know this. Alarmed, Olivia hurriedly explained, I noticed some loopholes after reading those documents. That info isn't sufficient enough to prove that my father murdered your sister. There is no evidence or witness. It's just a speculation of my father's motive. Ethan shoved the plates off the table. The warmth on his face gave way to coldness. He seemed to be the man he was from 3 months ago. Before Olivia could explain her stance further, he stood up and looked at her intimidatingly. Firstly, a DNA test was done on that body. It was my sister. Secondly, I've done another DNA test between the baby in her womb and your father. They were genetically related. Thirdly, I've looked into what happened to Leia before her death. Be it her contact history or other records. Jeff was the person she contacted the most. Lastly, the final person she met was Jeff, too. Who else could it be other than him? If you're demanding a witness, are you going to ask for a medical miracle so that your father can regain his consciousness? Or calling the dead to life so that she could speak for herself? Olivia was observing his expression. It turned out that Leia would always be his taboo, no matter what happened. She figured that there was an improvement in their relationship. However, it seemed like she wasn't someone more important than Marina to Ethan, let alone Leia. She didn't want to reveal the truth anymore, fearing that it would come back to her as a scar. He wouldn't sympathize with her. He would only assume that it was an attempt to clear Jeff's name. The mess on the floor was like a representation of the genuine feelings she had for him in the past, as well as Ethan's messy marriage life. She lowered her head. I trust my father. She didn't explain it further. Her words touched the baseline of his patience. Furious, he yelled, leave. Olivia went out of the room and slammed the door. In the end, their relationship was an ill-fated one. Even without Marina's existence, Leia would always be the thorn in their relationship. Olivia walked out of the hotel, staring at that tall building. She knew that Ethan should be smoking on the balcony by now. He should be standing there alone amidst the cloud of smoke, but she couldn't see him. This time, he was left alone. At the same time, Ethan was overlooking the busy street. He supposed that she had blended into the crowd, so he tried to look for her. But he realized that he couldn't discern anything clearly under the somber sky. The buildings before him were lit brightly, yet the room behind him was dark. Standing between darkness and light, he was in agony. Ethan reached out his hands, trying to pull Olivia back. Chapter 2. To be yet, he couldn't grab anything from the air at all. With wobbly steps, he walked into the room. Darkness slowly devoured him like a beast. Ethan muttered, Liv, you promised that you wouldn't leave me. Leia, I'm sorry. I was late. Kurt, it was my fault. It was all my fault. He dropped onto the floor with a loud thud, hugging his head. Brent rushed into the room and turned on the lights, only to see a mess. When he noticed that Ethan was going to cut his wrist with a porcelain piece, he dashed over. Mr. Miller. He kept Ethan under control, but the latter's eyes were glazed over. Ethan kept muttering something under his breath. Brent shouted, Kelvin, get Mrs. Miller back here. Mr. Miller is sick. Ethan's eyes regained their focus at the mention of Olivia. Looking at the broken pieces on the floor and the blood in his palm, he realized what he was doing. Don't call her. He didn't want her to find him in such a crazy state. Brent sighed. Mr. Miller, please visit Dr. Lexington when you're free. If this continues, you will die. The corner of Ethan's lips twitched. Brent, if I die, will I be able to meet Leia? You won't be able to meet Mrs. Miller then, Mr. Miller. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.